some devastating news, I would say, but I don't think it was unexpected given the time period of the season. Caitlin Clark announced on her social media that she will miss the rest of the season. She captioned it in short, in part, "I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with a singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I am feeling." She was limited to 13 games this season.
This is unreal. Candace Parker just let something slip that the WNBA never wanted out there. The league could not afford to see Caitlin Clark shut down for the entire season, and yet here we are. And it's not just a setback for Indiana, it's a crushing blow to the league as a whole. And here's where it gets even scarier. Those quiet rumors about Clark possibly walking away from the WNBA altogether, they're not so quiet anymore. They're getting louder by the day. The league thought it had time, thought it could ride the wave and figure things out later, but the clock's already run out. The nightmare question they don't want to face is this: if Caitlin Clark walked away tomorrow, what would even be left of the WNBA? Because let's be honest, this situation is spiraling. And it's not one they can hide behind press releases anymore. Clark, just in her second year as a pro, is already out for the season with nagging groin and leg injuries, and you can hear it in her voice even through her polished, respectful statements. She's not just frustrated, she's devastated. Fans can read between the lines. This isn't simply about missing games. It's about the crushing expectations, the nonstop pressure, and the league's shocking failure to protect the one player carrying it all on her back.
How I am feeling. She was limited to 13 games this season, and she hasn't played since July 15th when she suffered a right groin injury in the final minute of the Fever's win versus the Sun right before the All-Star game.
I mean, that's our girl. You know, that's our girl. And I feel like no matter what happened, you have to protect you and you have to protect your career. There's no reason to force anything. And I feel like her just kind of having that approach of doing what's best for her is all we can ask for, because we'd rather Caitlin sit out and then come back next season and we're ready to roll and we're ready to rock. And so we've just been supporting her and she's been supporting us. She's always there. We're getting to watch film and she's in there walking through saying, "Hey," and we're like, get out, go do what you need to do. But I mean, she's still the same. And I feel like our approach, because we've been missing her for so long, is just to come in and compete. And we have a good rhythm, I think, with everyone that's came in. And so just keeping that as our main focus.
When it comes to protecting players, Candace Parker knows the struggle better than anyone. A legend who fought through injury after injury, she didn't hold back, saying flat out that Caitlin Clark made the smartest move possible by shutting it down. And she's right. Parker admitted that in her own career, she often ignored the warning signs, pushed too hard, and paid the price later. That experience shaped her message to Clark: don't repeat that mistake. Don't let the league's playoff expectations force you into rushing back too soon. Take care of your body. Think about the years ahead, not just the next game. That's not just advice, it's hard-earned wisdom. And it's the kind of truth Clark needed to hear.
Well, Coach Steph White had said that they were hopeful that Clark would return by the end of the regular season, but Caitlin was unable to fully reincorporate back into practice. And, you know, she had never missed a game in her collegiate career or first year in the WNBA. So this is definitely a blow, I'm sure, for the organization, but also for her. Fever went 8-5 when Clark played and 15-15 without her. You all did win the Commissioner's Cup for the first time in franchise history without her. So maybe that is also another precursor. But big picture from the outside looking in, I have been a player that has had a number of injuries, and I think later in my career especially, some of those injuries.
This isn't just about Caitlin Clark's health, it's about the very direction of the WNBA. Let's be real, the league has been leaning on her for everything, and they're not even trying to hide it. Attendance, television ratings, jersey sales, every number that matters skyrocketed because of her. The WNBA finally felt what true mainstream relevance looked like, and it all came from a single player. But now, that player is sidelined, posting injury updates while the league scrambles to hold on. Which brings us to the question nobody in the front office wants to face. What happens if Caitlin Clark decides she's done? And if she chooses her long-term health and career over grinding through a broken-down body for a league that, let's be honest, can't even guarantee her protection from constant cheap shots? If that day ever comes, the fallout would be catastrophic. Because here's the truth. Fans didn't pack arenas out of sudden love for the WNBA logo. They came for Clark. They bought her jerseys, replayed her highlights, and watched every game just to see her shatter records and own the internet. Take her out of the equation, and those arenas empty fast. The buzz disappears, and the league slides right back into being a forgotten sideshow with empty seats and streams no one cares to click.
And taking the time, and there is a difference in being a role player and coming in and playing a role and coming in off of an injury. There is a rhythm, but when you are Caitlin Clark and you have the ball in your hands and you are on the other team's scouting report, to come in half and not be able to be in that amount of, I would say, rhythm of the game, because the rhythm of the game changes towards the end of the year. And so when it started getting closer to the end of the regular season, I was like, it's dangerous to come back during playoff basketball because the whole flow, the physicality, all of that is different. And so I know it's difficult to kind of take time and understand the big picture, especially when you're living with tunnel vision and you've worked so hard to get to where you're at, but it's the smart thing. And I'm proud of this generation for taking the time they need, looking at the bigger picture, and making sure that they get healthy. So, Caitlin Clark, hope you feel better. You have a great offseason and you come back.
Let's be brutally honest here. The WNBA brought this disaster on itself by failing to protect Caitlin Clark from day one. Every single game, she was getting hammered. Hard body checks, flying elbows, constant shoves, and trash talk that crossed every line imaginable. The refs, silent. The league, nowhere to be found. They brushed it all off like it was just part of the game. And now, their golden ticket, the one player carrying the entire league, is stuck on the sideline in sweats while the playoffs begin. That's not just bad luck. That's complete negligence. Candace Parker sees it clearly. They've been through the wars, and she said it herself. Playoff basketball is faster, rougher, and far more brutal. That is absolutely not the environment where you bring back a superstar fresh off injury. When she's startly, you don't drive a Ferrari into a demolition derby. But the WNBA, they wanted exactly that. Clark hobbling back, forcing up shots, limping through games just so they could squeeze out a few more ratings points. And this is where the instant regret hits hardest, because Clark isn't naive. She knows the truth. She doesn't need the WNBA. The WNBA needs her. If she walked away tomorrow, she'd be fine. She has endless options, broadcasting, global sponsorships, overseas basketball, even building her own empire around her name. Meanwhile, the league would be left gasping for air because without her, it's back to irrelevance. The reality is brutal. The WNBA has been propped up by the NBA for decades, trying to spark growth that never truly came. Then Clark arrived and instantly delivered the biggest surge in attention the league had ever seen. She's done more in 2 seasons than years of marketing speeches and commissioner promises combined. That's why the "what if Clark quits" talk feels more real every day. Fans aren't shy about it either. You see it all over social media. If Clark's not playing, I'm not watching. That's not loyalty to the league, it's loyalty to her. And if she pulls the plug, those fans will too. That's what real instant regret looks like. And Candace Parker's message? It cuts deeper than people realize. She wasn't just talking to Clark, she was talking directly to the WNBA. Respect your stars. Stop forcing them back into games before they're ready. Stop running them into the ground for short-term gain. Because if you don't, the long-term cost could be everything. Caitlin Clark isn't some bench piece you throw in for a few minutes of energy. She's the headline, the player every scouting report is built around. And if she's not fully healthy, she has no business being on the floor. That's exactly what Candace Parker praised her for, recognizing that truth and refusing to let pressure drag her back too soon. But here's the twist, this isn't only about Clark's health, it's about trust. Clark has given everything to the game. Even while rehabbing, she put in hours upon hours in the gym every single day, grinding to return. You could hear the frustration in her voice when she spoke. She was crushed. She still made sure to thank her teammates and the fans who stood by her. Notice who she didn't thank: the league, the referees, the leadership. That silence speaks volume. Because while the fans kept showing up for her, the league never truly showed up for her. And that's exactly why all this "Clark might walk away" talk feels so real. She's already learned she can't depend on the WNBA to protect her, so why keep playing a game that feels rigged against her? And here's the part the league should be terrified of. Clark has options, plenty of them. Imagine her in Europe, tax-free money, shorter seasons, and actual foul calls from refs. Or, bigger still, imagine her leaving basketball altogether, stepping into media, massive endorsements, or even creating opportunities for the next generation of players. She could easily build a career larger than the WNBA itself, while the league is left empty-handed. Let's not forget this isn't the first time the WNBA has failed its stars. Angel Reese has already put the spotlight on problems with salaries, travel, and facility. The league has always been almost there, but never actually arrived. Then Clark came in, fans poured through the doors, and suddenly the league acted like everything was fixed. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Clark's injury just ripped the curtain down again, and Candace Parker, she knows this cycle too well. She admitted she pushed her body past its limits, ignored the pain, and sacrificed everything for a league that gave very little back. Her warning to Clark is crystal clear: don't repeat the same mistake. And the fact that Parker, respected by everyone, has to say this out loud proves one thing: the WNBA hasn't learned a thing. Sure, the league will release some polished PR statement about player safety or supporting Caitlyn's recovery, but fans aren't fooled. They saw the brutal hits. They saw the refs swallow the whistle. They saw the league cash in while Clark limped off the court. No press release can erase that. So let's stop pretending Clark leaving isn't some wild theory. It's a very real possibility, and if it happens, the WNBA's instant regret will be nuclear. The sold-out arenas vanish. The jersey sales vanish. The viral clips vanish. And the league slides right back into irrelevance, begging for scraps of airtime between golf highlights. History proves it. The WNBA has leaned too heavily on stars before: Diana Taurasi, Parker, Maya Moore, and now it's Clark. But here's the difference. If Clark walks, she takes the entire momentum with her. And that's the kind of wake-up call the league may never recover from. The reality is simple. Caitlin Clark isn't just another standout player. She's the star who dragged millions of fresh eyes to women's basketball. Losing her isn't an option, but the league is dangerously close to exactly that. Her recent social media update might have sounded polite on the surface, but underneath every word was frustration. She said she was disappointed not to return this season. But for someone like Clark, disappointed doesn't even scratch the surface. It felt more like betrayal. She delivered everything, put in the work, gave the league its biggest storyline ever, and what did she get in return? Cheap fouls, swallowed whistles, and now an entire season gone. And this isn't year one. She's not a rookie anymore. Year two was supposed to be the season she cemented her dominance, the season she headlined playoff highlight reels. Instead, she's in sweats on the bench, while the WNBA stares at a giant red flag waving over its future. Here's the truth spelled out. If Caitlin Clark walks away, the fallout would be catastrophic. Ratings nosedive, arenas empty, sponsors panic, and the league is left scrambling to explain how they let the biggest draw in women's basketball slip away. That's what instant regret looks like. And the only way to prevent it is by treating Clark like the superstar. She is not just in flashy ads, but in the rules, in officiating, and in how the league actually protects her career. Because here's the ugly pattern. The WNBA has never been good at protecting its stars. They're great at marketing them, selling jerseys, and cashing in on their shine. But when it comes to safeguarding their health, their bodies, or even their reputations, the league has always been a step behind. And Clark is learning that lesson faster than anyone before her. Candace Parker's message hit hard. She practically begged Clark to think long-term, warning that playoff basketball is the worst time to rush back. Too physical, too fast, too risky. She even admitted she was proud. Clark didn't cave to the pressure. That's a massive compliment, but also a glaring warning, because Clark had every reason to force a return. The hype, the spotlight, the expectations, and yet she chose herself over the league. That tells you she sees the bigger picture clearly, and the fans, they see it too. These are the same people who packed arenas for Clark, who tuned in just for her. Now they're openly asking, if she's not playing, why should I watch? That's the sentence the WNBA dreads, and it's growing louder every single day. She stays sidelined. This isn't some short-lived controversy like an Angel Reese headline. This isn't a travel complaint or a charter flight debate. This is the league's crown jewel sitting out while Candace Parker flat out says, yeah, it's the right move. That's not just bad news. That's a full-blown crisis. So now the WNBA has a choice: step up, protect their investment, and prove they can handle success, or watch Caitlin Clark walk away, taking the league's entire future right out the door with her. Because here's the brutal truth. Without Clark, there may not be a future. Clark isn't clueless. She understands exactly how much she's worth. She knows she's bigger than the league itself. And the moment a player realizes the league needs them far more than they need the league, everything shifts. The power dynamic flips instantly. And truth be told, the WNBA is nowhere near prepared for that reality. Sure, when Candace Parker retired, it stung. When Sue Bird walked away, it hurt, but the league kept moving. With Caitlin Clark, that's not a bruise you bounce back from. That's a collapse. So let's tie this up with a little irony. Congratulations, WNBA. You begged for a face of the league. You finally got one, and then you allowed her to get shoved, fouled, and beaten down until she's forced to sit out when it matters most. Now you're staring straight at your worst nightmare. What if she never returns? Here's the harsh truth. Clark's injury put the league on pause, but if she ever walks away completely, it's game over. If the WNBA doesn't start protecting her health and recognizing her value, that doomsday clock might hit zero faster than they think. So, what about you? Do you believe Caitlin Clark could actually step away for good? Drop your take in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe for more real talk.